Alrighty, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Friday. Is it Friday or Thursday? Friday night. All right. May 12th, 2023. It is about 10:27 p.m. here in the West Coast, California, that is. Still seeing some earthquake activity out here in the Lake Almanor area of Northern California. I want to get a total tally here of earthquakes in this vicinity. Looks like we're coming up on about 58 earthquakes or so, following the 5.5 that struck a couple days ago, actually just yesterday, but with past the 24-hour period here. We did see that 5.5 coming in, and also a 5.2 last night there in Northern California. Let's get a specific here at the largest magnitudes. 5.5, 5.2, a couple other 3s in there as well, and quite a few 2s being listed up there into the list. Still, a lot of questions going on as to what is happening up here at the Lake Almanor area. It is not associated with the volcanic or the volcano up here, Mount Lassen. It's definitely a ways away, and it's very shallow earthquake activity. I believe what's going on here is the amount of water and the weight distribution here of Lake Almanor affecting the fault systems up here, which includes the Almanor fault zone, where they've seen a 5.7 back in 2013, and also some other earthquake activity in years past. So definitely an eye-opener, I think. I did mention this when we were having a pretty good wet winter to watch some fault systems out here. I don't think we're done yet with the uptick in elevated earthquake activity here across the California region. Definitely think it's noteworthy to watch some specific regions of the state for some further movement, and also that includes areas in Southern California here. So sometimes it takes all the it takes a couple weeks, couple months here to get that water down into the faults there to lubricate enough to see an earthquake. And this activity that came in here is relatively shallow, but the 5.5 struck here yesterday was about 5 kilometers or so below the surface. 5.2 that struck last night that woke me up in the middle of the night was about 6.1 kilometers deep. So we're getting a little bit of depth differences here between shallow and deeper movements across the Lake Almanor area. So just it's one of these fault systems that have built up enough stress here. And I firmly believe that the activity that we're seeing is in relation to the Lake Almanor area. Now, someone asked actually a very interesting question here as to whether there's an ancient volcano out here. Kind of looks like it, right? Maybe similar to Crater Lake. Now, it's hard to say, though. I think that's a little on the far-fetched side, to maybe assume that this isn't a ancient volcano. But I might have to dig around on that. Who's to say that there isn't something brewing underneath the lake here that may be volcanic in nature? You never know. I mean, it is kind of within the volcanic range here of Northern California and up through the Cascades. So we'll have to look into that. It's a very good question, though. I appreciate that question being asked on the previous update video. All right, see what else we have here across the northwest, Pacific Northwest. Not a whole lot going on here. Let me check out the tremor map here tonight and see what we have going on. A very measly 6 epicenters of tremor in Northern California. Not a big deal whatsoever. Very, minimal earthquake activity. We do have a little bit of activity here across the northern section of the San Andreas Fault. Looks like a couple ones coming in earlier, and that was just after midnight here, so a little bit older movement on the northern section of the San Andreas Fault. Bay Area fairly quiet. A couple earthquakes here outside of the San Simeon area. Looks like some twos, upper twos. Got two of them, two 2.9s within seconds of each other, and also a 2.4 here within the last hour. Looks like that's just off of the San Simeon fault system here. Pretty lengthy fault that kind of runs into the oceanic fault down here across the San Luis Obispo area. That is another major seismically hazardous area in Southern California. Well, I guess it's southern. I consider that Southern California. All right, the remainder, extreme Southern California, got a little 0.8 earthquake, it looks like here, off of the San Jacinto fault zone. The southern branch of the San Andreas Fault remains quiet for now. Looking up into the Yellowstone area, got a little bit of earthquake activity, nothing major, but we will check out what's going on here across the Yellowstone area. Looks like just a slight amount of earthquake activity here showing up around the northwest corner of the park. There's some of that, I believe that's that 5.2 there in Northern California from 3 o'clock in the morning. Goodness, I'm still kind of recovering from that. I was, after having a jolt of an earthquake here yesterday with that 5.5, to be woken up at 3 in the morning with an early alert shake system there, I didn't know what to expect. I heard it go off and I thought we were in for the big one. But I didn't feel any shaking because I was just completely out of it. I was tired last night. But that was ended up being a little bit smaller than the 5.5 that we seen yesterday. But it's a good app. Definitely a good app to have in regards to being prepared for a potentially bigger one. I don't know. I don't know too many people that are going to get up when they're dead asleep to drop, cover, and hold. I just pretty much lifted up my head when the alarm went off and then dropped it back to my pillow. And that was it. And hoped for the best. A couple twos out here around Pecos, Texas here. Out in the oil fields, it looks like. The pumping operations galore. I mean, I covered this quite a bit here. Don't want to go too much into it, but there is quite a bit of wastewater disposal facilities out here that these earthquakes are occurring next to or within the vicinity of those injection stations. There's a beautiful swimming pool out there in the desert of Texas. That's actually a wastewater disposal pond. All right, let's see what else we have here. Go back to the terrain. A little bit of movement up into the beautiful state of Kansas near the Smoky Hills. 2.5 near Zurich. Is that right? Hopefully, because that's going to be my home state one of these days. Soon. It looks like 3.7 kilometers deep outside of the Plainville area. Satellite view shows... let's see what we got out here. It's kind of hard to tell with the vegetation out here in Kansas. A lot of farmland, which is absolutely beautiful in my book. I'm not really seeing any oil pumping operations out there, but you never know. All right, let's back out of here and see what else we have. Nothing major going on across the eastern portion of the country. One earthquake here into the center of Puerto Rico, 3.1 it looks like. Within the last hour. Down into the South America region, also lighting up here. Off the coast of Chile, a 4.6 coming in here within the last hour at 24 kilometers deep. Also a 2.2 off the coast of Morocco here along that plate boundary. Rest of the Turkey area over here, seeing some small aftershock activity. As far as any major movement goes, looks like most of this activity here across the Philippine plate is older movement. We did see some activity here across the Java Trench, and also a 4.5 earthquake, it's kind of an intraplate earthquake here off of the plate boundary, just off the northwest coast here of the Cable Beach, Australia region. That earthquake striking at 10 kilometers deep. Historical data here looks like there has been some earthquake activity out here, mainly minor movement. The 4.5 is showing up here, it looks like. Let's see. Actually, it looks like maybe there was a 5.0 to a 6.0 back there historically within the vicinity of that epicenter today. So somewhat seismically active in this region of Australia, but not too often. Definitely not too often do we see activity out there. All right, over here around the Tonga region, looks like most of this activity from earlier, 5.2, coming in. Actually a very shallow earthquake here around the Tonga Trench, Kermadec Trench area, upstream, about 30 kilometers or so deep. Did see a little bit of activity up here around the Mariana Trench. Looks like the latest one was a 4.8 here near the Mariana Islands. Let's see what we got here for the GeoNet servers while we're on it. Earthquakes GeoNet 2.4. Looks like the latest one, at least somewhat moderate. No, I can't really say that. That's a moderate quake, but the 3.4 about 13 hours ago. The drums here across New Zealand look not super active. Yeah, I can't really say there's too much activity going on there across New Zealand currently. It looks fairly quiet for the most part. Nothing of major interest going on there for now. All right, the Big Island of Hawaii. Most of the activity here across Pahala and the Kilauea volcano still showing earthquake activity here. Down there about 1 to 2 kilometers below the surface there of the Kilauea volcano. As far as the Alaska movement goes, not seeing any major movement kicking off there. Most of the activity, very light activity with, well, it looks like we did see a 4.3 earlier this evening, just off to the west of Anchorage on the Granite Point Cook Inlet folds. This is part of the subduction zone here. There's pretty good push of plate activity here across the region. That earthquake, though, relatively shallow at 9 kilometers deep. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? Let's go back to the all magnitudes. All right, let's go ahead and check space weather out real quick here and see what's going on. Looks like we did have a long duration sea flare. Notice the width here of the event compared to previous solar flares. Most of the time it's a just an impulsive type event there, a couple impulsive M flares, but this is kind of a long duration sea flare. Not for sure exactly where that came from. Let's see what we have here. Looks like that is coming off of the sunspot region there, which is now on the northwest corner of the sun. Notice the brightness here in a little matchstick type view, but that's definitely a little bit stronger than a matchstick, I would say. Either way, activity kind of ramping up here on the northwest corner of the sun away from the earth, and that will continue to point away from the earth. So I don't think it's going to be too geo-effective. It's going to be these regional sunspots here that we're looking at, which they look fairly complex now. all of a sudden they turn away from the Earth and they want to get very active. So that may stir up a little bit here, but again, that's not going to be geo-effective, I don't believe. What will be geo-effective is, well, maybe, potentially, these sunspots up here. There's a couple different cores here that we're watching within sunspot 32 or 3302 and 3301 here, but also new developing core area in this sunspot that harbors a little bit of potential for some flaring. We'll watch this regional sunspot here in the coming days. Right now, 99% chance of the C flare as a total threat, M flare at 55% chance, and X flare around 15% chance. Not seeing any major auroras, and that was a big letdown. We were expecting a G3 class storm here last night or the night before, and yeah, you know, it's pretty much a dud, similar to last time. I think I can call that a dud because that's what it was. No major auroras were seen. All right, let's see what else we have here, folks. Space Weather Storm Prediction Center. I believe this is the current day 1 threat. Still seeing some elevated severe weather up there around portions of Nebraska and Iowa. But as far as the day goes tomorrow, that severe weather threat is going to shift to the south somewhat, a little bit up to the north. There's no major areas to watch. I think maybe a 5% chance up here around the Iowa area, Davenport region, Iowa City. But for the most part, a little bit less active tomorrow than what we've seen today. I know we've seen some tornadoes out there in portions of the plains, but tomorrow looks like a little bit different story. Either way, definitely be good to be prepared, right? Kilauea daily update here. The volcano is not erupting. No lava has been observed. Slow, steady inflation continues. What does that tell us? That tells us that it's recharging. That's what I get, right? When there's a tilt inflation with an earthquake swarm, that tells me right there that we're looking at a gradual recharging of the system. Who knows how long it will take for this to build up enough for another eruption there at the Kilauea volcano, but obviously we'll continue to monitor that and see how it plays out. Alrighty, guys, just stay safe, be prepared. There's still always the potential up here in Northern California to see another earthquake or two. Things appear to be on the increasing side of earthquake activity here across Northern California, although it doesn't look like it over here to the west. It just seems to be compacted over here around the Almanor area, Lake Almanor region, but I do believe that the water weight and the accumulated lake level does play a part in activating some fault systems out here. So just continue to watch this. I'm hoping I don't get woken up at 3 in the morning again by a earthquake alert. Definitely not cool. I mean, it's good to be advised and be prepared, but I could not go back to sleep after that. It's just, you know, who wants to be woken up in the middle of the night by a major alert tone? But I think that's, you know, that's my fault. Even though I had my phone on silent, that thing still comes through. But it's obviously it's a good thing to have, right? You want to be notified if there's any major earthquake activity. But 5.2, yeah, I slept through that. Alrighty, guys, I'm gonna jump off here. I hope everyone has a great day and stay safe out there. We're coming up in about 3 days here for a member drawing. So make sure you guys get in on that. Again, thanks for the membership donations there from Harlita, right? I think that's how you pronounce that. Continues to give some memberships out there, so those gift memberships are also entered into our member drawing every month. So if you want to win some prizes, heads up. All right, folks, we'll catch you guys back here sometime tomorrow. Hope everyone has a good night, and please stay safe out there. It is Friday night. California, definitely a little on the crazy side out here on this Friday night. Take care, everyone. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. Take care.